everyone to our Monday night shiur. Tonight is a very, very special day. The Hillula of Rabbeinu Hachaim Hakadosh. The Chaim Rabbi Chaim ben Atar. Atar is Arabic for Besamim. Their family's name was, they were such men of Shem, good name, they were called Ben Atar, Besamim. Everybody knows the power of the Sefer Hachaim Hakadosh. Many people don't know that the Hachaim Hakadosh, before he was a darshan, he was a big posek. And before that, he was a very big mikubal. And we also know from writings, letters, from the Baal Shem Tov's brother-in-law, of Gershon Mikitov, that the Baal Shem Tov specifically sent Rav Gershon Mikitov to meet the Baal Shem Tov, the Chaim ben Atar. And the Baal Shem Tov used to say that Rav Chaim ben Atar was such a tzaddik, kadosh. Who called him kadosh? The Hasidim. Who started calling Rav Chaim ben Atar kadosh? The Hasidim. The Baal Shem Tov used to say, by the time I take out my neshama to go up to the upper worlds, he's already coming back down. He was such on a level that his neshama, he could take his neshama out and bring it back in before the Baal Shem Tov even bring it up. We know from letters from the Hasidim, from the son of the Baal Shem Tov, Degel Machane Ephraim, that the Baal Shem Tov wanted to meet Hachaim Hakadosh very much, and there was a saying in the Hasidic Admorim that if they would have met, they would have brought Mashiach Tzidkenu. One was Mashiach ben Yosef, one was Mashiach ben David, and this is, even though it seems like a legend, but this is also proved by the Hachaim himself. I'm going to explain to you why in a minute. The Hachaim, Rav Chaim ben Atar, lived only until the age of 47. When he made his aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, he lived in Akko first, then he went to Haifa. He went to Haifa, the port city of Haifa, because the kever of Elisha Hanavi is over there. Unfortunately, the Kritmachs built a monastery over it, so you can't go pray. So the kever of Elisha Hanavi is inside a church right now. 100%. And he was his machane, his yeshiva was over there. And then from Akko, he went from Haifa, he went to Tveria. Over there, he met Rabbi Chaim Abulafia, who was the Gadol Hador in that time, and he begged Rav Chaim ben Atar to stay in Tveria to start his yeshiva over there, but he didn't want to. He wanted to go to Yerushalayim. He had a very big idea why he wanted to go to Yerushalayim. When he got to Yerushalayim, Kodesh, all he did was live there for 1 year. After 1 year, he passed away, but before he passed away, he already set up in his will who goes to what he knew what was going to happen to him. When he went to what he calls Ziorat. Ziorat is when you go to Kivrei Tzadikim. Every Erev Rosh Chodesh used to go to Ziorat. It's Kivrei Tzadikim in the Galil. Every Erev Rosh Chodesh when he was in Eretz Yisrael. One day when he came back from the Galil, he said, it was Yom Kippur, and that Yom Kippur, he said, I'm not going to continue. He already started to hint to his students that he's not going to live in this world past this year. And he set up his yeshiva to his students. His yeshiva was called Knesset Yisrael. Till today, this yeshiva exists in Yerushalayim. They turned it into a museum. It's called Yeshivat Or Chaim, not the famous one or a Reuven Elbaz. There's a small Bet Knesset, maybe the size of this room. That's where the Or Chaim had his yeshiva. 10 students he had, that was it. 10 students with their families. Then it grew to 30. His biggest student, who was a young boy when he passed away, was the Chida. The Chida of Chaim Yosef David Azulai was a student of the Hachaim Hakadosh, Rabbeinu Chaim ben Atar. And the the Chida in his book Shema Gedolim writes on the Hachaim Hakadosh, he said in his generation, his neshama was so big in Talmud. It's very interesting how the Chida decides to put his qualities. He decides to write first his qualities in Talmud, in Halacha. He says, Lev Harav Mav'it b'Talmud. Mav'it means he was a Ma'ayan Mitgaber. And he wrote a couple of books on the Gemara itself, which was accepted. And he was a big Bar Plukta. He used to disagree a lot with a very big Rav called Rav Chizkiah de Silva, an Italian Rav, that ended up being a rabbi in Amsterdam and come back to Yerushalayim. And he disagreed with him a lot in Halacha. And they together, it's a book called Perot Genosar. Rav Chaim ben Atar grew up in Morocco. He was from the Moroccan family. There's a couple of Atar families. And like every single year, we have the Zuchut already, I think third or fourth year, is Hillula falls on our Monday night shiur. like every year, I'm going to repeat the story again. There is a legend that says about Chaim ben Atar that he used to be a goldsmith, make gold embroideries and stuff like that, and the king hired him for his son's or daughter's wedding. And when his job wasn't done, he threw him in the pit of the lions. And the lions didn't touch him, and it was a big Kiddush Hashem, and then he threw in the Sonei Israel inside instead. Like Daniel, like the story of Daniel. The story is false. Every year I say also again. This story happened with Rabbi Yehuda ben Atar. His relative, yeah. Some say they weren't related. Atar family, there was different Atar families. Some say they were related. Baruch HaYodea. But that story happened with Rabbi Yehuda ben Atar, who was living in the time of Chaim ben Atar. He was older than him and much more. He was the Gadaev of Morocco. So it's a mitzvah to bring back the story to it really exists. The story happened with Rabbi Yehuda ben Atar. Before I continue, our shiur is sponsored with the sponsors. The anonymous sponsors for Refuah Shlema, Zivug, Parnasa, Refuah, and also for Refuah Shlema, Esther Bat Hana, Hashem Yishtach La Refuah Shlema, Miyadit. And for all Hakadosh Zabidiyat Semenacha, and also Yun Yishmat, my grandmother, whose yortzeit is tomorrow night. We're going to have a shiur here tomorrow night. Everybody is invited. Okay? Same time after Arvit. Everyone's invited. We're going to have a seudah. And yortzeit for my grandmother, Tzipora Bat Adira. Now, Chaim ben Atar, in his 47 years of life, he accomplished a lot. But before we're going to get into his accomplishments and what he did, how he did it, I want to tell you a very sad part of his life. Why did he leave Morocco? Why did he leave Morocco? When he was a young boy, he was named after his grandfather of Chaim ben Atar Hazaken, his grandfather. From here we also see that it was a minhag for the Sfaradim to name people after live people. Because his grandfather was still alive when they named him Chaim.
That's a problem.
For Ashkenazim it's a problem. If you Chas v'Shalom name somebody after somebody that's alive, they think you want that guy to die. As if his soul is going to go from him to him right now. The Sfaradim would never push for such a thing.
So you can name after yourself?
Yeah, you can. That's not, you could, yes. You want to name him Junior? So Chaim ben Atar was named after his grandfather, Chaim Hazaken. He was also his Rebbe. And he was his uncle's domot. That means he married his cousin. Chaim ben Atar married 2 wives. The Sfaradim never accepted upon themselves Cherem Rabbeinu Gershom. So they allowed themselves to marry, if there was a reason for it, they allowed, yes. If there was a reason for it, not to have fun, take it easy, Gabriel. Yeah, that's why he married 2 wives. He didn't have kids from his first wife. And from the second wife, he also didn't have kids. That means he got married to his first wife didn't want a divorce. She wanted to stay married. She didn't care. And his second wife, her name was Esther. The first wife's name is a bit weird. I don't remember. I don't know how to say it correctly. From the second wife too, he also had no kids. That means if Chaim ben Atar passed away childless. Lo aleinu wa al Yisrael. Of course, the reason is because his Torah had to be disseminated to Klal Yisrael. He needed that time. We don't know the cheshbonot of Shammai. That's why they say a big sigula is for a person who wants to have children is to learn the book of the Chaim Hakadosh. Because they say he put all of his power of having children, Ariel, inside his book, the Chaim Hakadosh. There was a famous story that happened. One of the Magidei Yerushalayim say this story. One guy really wanted to have kids and he tried all the sigulot. He opened up the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai in Lashon Chai has a whole list of sigulot, whoever wants to have children. For example, he says on the night of Shabbat, you have to eat, the husband and wife has to eat a clove of garlic, one garlic, and then take pomegranates too? No. And then you have to take it. So, together, yes. It's the whole thing he has over there. And he also said if a person wants to have kids, he has to donate the oil. Back then there was no lights. He has to donate the oil to the Beit HaKnesset. The oil. Yeah. So Ben Ish Chai has a whole list of things, and he also says that a person who wants to have kids, he has to, Ben Ish Chai writes in Lashon Chavim, he has to mamash cry when he davens. He has to mamash take out the tears and take it and clean his face with it. There's something with tears that takes it chodadi. But this guy tried all the segulot. They told him, the Chaim, it's good to go daven in a place where that person also wanted that thing. For example, let's say you want to be zochet to shmirat einayim. Who doesn't want to be zochet to shmirat einayim? It's a disease, not to be shomer einayim. right? It's a disease. You're sick of it already. Like, how much could you be pogem day and night? You want to throw up already. So, who do you go to daven by if you want to be shomer einayim? Who in the Gemara, in the Midrashim, was considered the shomer einayim?
The one that poked his eye out.
Good. What's his name?
I don't know. Baba.
No, not Papa. Baba Ben Buta. No, Baba Ben Buta. His eyes were poked out for him.
Right.
This one poked out his own eyes.
Oh.
He was. I'll give you a hint. This is our Jewish trivia for the night. He was a Rosh Yeshiva in Rome. No one? Rav Matya ben Harash. Rav Matya ben Harash, we all know, it was revealed to us already, that he was the Gilgula of Palti ben Laish, who married David's wife that was divorced from him against his will by his father-in-law Shaul. It's a whole sabatucha over there. When David ran away from Shaul, Shaul took Michal and married her off to Paltiel ben Laish. Now he was a tzaddik, so he never touched her because he was choshesh that maybe the annulment of the marriage was not really taking place. So he didn't touch her, but he did look at her. He was ne'eneh. So the Beis Chai says he came back as Rav Matya ben Harash and he was tested again, and instead of falling into looking at a dmut yafa, he took 2 nails and he stuck it in his eyes. To that extent, until he was promised by Rafael HaMalach that don't worry, Hashem is not going to test you anymore, and he gave him refuah shlema. Rav Matya ben Harash is also very famous in Masechet Yoma. He brings down Arba Chilukei Kapara, the 4 levels of kapara. If you go over a mitzvot aseh, you have to say, Hashem, I'm not going to do it anymore. He said, lo ta'aseh, you need Yom Kippur, karet, you need Yisurim, Chilul Hashem, you have to go flat line. For Chilul Hashem. Every Chilul Hashem is one flat line.
What do you mean by that?
A flat line is a nice way of saying only death could be mitchaper from a Chilul Hashem. Chilul Hashem is a very big offense. Why? You're affecting other people too. I'll give you an example. If a person has to be very careful. If a person, the Gemara says, it's not my words, Masechet Yoma. If a person, people are used to him, seeing him with a beard. He's known to the world as a guy with a zakan. A zakan is a symbol. It's a symbol of what? Let's be honest. Of religious Jews. Or peot, let's say. And one day he decides, listen, it's a chumrah. I don't have to do this. It's not for me. He decides, snip, snip. Shalom al Israel. And then he walks outside. What happened to you? You changed. Even that's considered a Chilul Hashem. Even that's considered a Chilul Hashem.
What if the opposite?
The opposite is a Chilul Hashem. Suddenly but you have to be careful. If you can't hold on to the Chumrah, let's say you decide one day, you heard a shear, suddenly you're like, that's it, I'm done. You took all your jeans, all your shirts, all your t-shirts, you say, everything, lezevel. To the zevel. And then you suddenly become black hat, white shirt, black hat. Then a week later, it's like, listen, I took too much upon myself, and b'tzedek, you shouldn't have done that. It's okay, b'tzedek, jeans is not the end of the world. To be careful. To be careful. First of all, you took something upon yourself. When I got married, I say this story a couple of times. The rabbi that I wanted to be an ed in my wedding, he said, I'm not coming to your wedding until you promise me. I was 23 years old. You stop wearing jeans. I never saw anything wrong with it. It was comfortable. It's whatever. I liked it. The rabbi said, stop. So you promised me? I said, I promise. You want to hear something funny? I had to redo my ketubah afterwards. So even then, he was an ed of my wedding, I had to get a different ed anyways. And all that was really because Hashem wanted me to stop that. What happened was, in the beginning of my marriage, like the stories of Chaim ben Atar, Hashem didn't bless me with children for about 2 years. So my Rebbe told me, I have to go check my ketubah. Ketubah, anything that happens under the chuppah in your wedding day is the seed of what's going to happen to your whole life. I say the story a couple of times. Of Elimelech Melejez, Ashkenazim have a minhag, you have to make 7 hakafot. We make hakafot on a Sefer Torah. Ashkenazim, the Kala, makes 7 hakafot around the Chatan. Interesting minhag, right? They don't know themselves why they do it. So they were doing the hakafot, and they did 5 instead of 7. Rav Elimelech Milezhensk was watching the chuppah, and he said, this marriage is not going to go far. And as he said, that's what happened. Because whatever you do, if you change a certain thing, that's why when I see people get married and it's a mixed wedding, chas v'shalom, it's chti and everything, it breaks my heart to see such a thing. Because you're already starting the beginning of your life with a zera that's not mitukan. It's not mitukan. I once heard a story that there was a religious couple, but their families weren't religious, and they said to their parents, make it a separate wedding, everything separate. Whatever happened was, since he didn't have so many friends, she didn't have so many friends to dance, it suddenly started to become mixed. What did they do? They got up and they left their own wedding. That's a Kiddush Hashem. That's a Kiddush Hashem. I don't know if the story is true or not. This is what I heard. But if it's true, kavod lahem. Imagine how much guts it takes for you to do such a thing. It's also a very big, musar to us. When a person's at a wedding, and he sees that the wedding is about to become, and you being on the dance floor is going to stop that from happening, even though you have to go against your nature, you have to go over there. Be misameach chatan dekala. And all those chatan dekalas that help, that want, they want, and they make their wedding separate, it's the biggest Kiddush Hashem. It's a very big Kiddush Hashem. And their sechar in Shamayim is very big. And their life is going to be blessed with bracha v'atzlacha if they do such a thing. Because arayot, pritzut, which is, it's good we brought this up, now we're going to go back to the Hachaim Hakadosh. Why was he called Hachaim Hakadosh? What does the word kadosh come from? The word kadosh. We only have a couple of kadoshes. We have Ha'ari Hakadosh, Hachaim Hakadosh, Al Sheikh Hakadosh. Any other kadoshes you could tell me? Come on, guys, work with me over here. I'll give you a hint. He wrote the Mishnayot. Rabbeinu Hakadosh. What is his Masechet Shabbat? What do they call him in the Gemara? Rabbeinu Hakadosh. So why is he Kadosh? His hands never went below his waist.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. His hands never went below his waist. Now, obviously, a person with moch b'kod kodo could understand the word kadosh means one thing, basically. Shmirat habrit. To the extent where a person has, if he doesn't need to, if he's not procreating with his spouse, he doesn't have no connection to the yesod besides for priya v'rivya. No connection whatsoever. To the point where there is a machloket in the poskim. Are you allowed to look at the brit of a baby during the brit milah, besides for the mohel? There's a machloket poskim in that. Yes. In the book Nefesh Chaya, Chelek Aleph, he writes a diyun in the poskim. If you want to be kadosh, for example, and you want to know, they said, who's kadosh? Whoever doesn't look at the brit, whoever doesn't touch the brit. Can I look at the brit milah while it's happening?
Is that going to give me an urge?
When a person wants to be kadosh, it's not about an urge. You put gedarim. You know what gedarim is?
Fences.
Fences. The more fences, the better. There was a big tzaddik in Yerushalayim. His name was Rav Yosef Voltoch. He was good friends with Rav Yosef Dayan. Everywhere he went, he used to carry 2 salim, 2 baskets. Like this, he always used to walk. You know, back then in Israel, like today in New York, it's happening. No more plastic bags, right? Everything was the. So back then they used to have salim. Salim is baskets. He always used to walk with baskets. So why are you holding baskets, Rabbi? Obviously, he also had no kids. He said, listen, I'm shopping, I'm helping, chasadim. In the baskets was Sifrei Kodesh, really. But really, you know what the real reason why he always used to hold baskets? When you have a basket, you put it in your malpek over here, you have to put your hand up. To be mekayim the chumrah of Rabbeinu Hakadosh, that his hands should never go beyond his legs, past the brit, the nahi. His hands were always up in the up position. So also in him, they used to say Rav Yosef Voltoch Hakadosh. And it's very sad today people were sending the messages in the social media how the Arabs, the Ishmaelim, how they go to the kever of Yosef HaTzadik in Shechem and they vandalize the Yesod. Pay attention, anytime something happens in Eretz Yisrael, what's the first place they go and vandalize? Already 4th, 5th time they do such a thing. And it always happens in the summer months, Tammuz and Av, and always after that it's going to be very big balagan, always happening. They're doing a chilul to the Yesod, a chilul, a desecration to the Yesod. Why was the Hachaim Hakadosh? So Rabbeinu Hakadosh B'Dor Nasi, he's very famous for never ever looking at the Brit. On the same idea, the Zohar, in the Tikkunei Zohar, in a couple of places says this. Just like you're not allowed to look at the Brit, you're also not allowed to look at anything that connects to the Brit. For example, in the Shamayim, there's also a Brit. What is it?
Rainbow.
The rainbow. The Keshet.
Are you saying bro?
Huh?
Bro?
You gotta look for a second. You have to know what's there, right? For a second, you see, you're not allowed to look. I remember the first time in my life I saw a rainbow. A real one. Mamash.
25?
I was so mesmerized. I couldn't stop looking at it. It's mamash something crazy that happens in the Shamayim. And I'm looking at it. I can't stop looking. At the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not allowed to look at it. Right? But a keshet, why is it called a keshet? What does the word keshet mean? In Hebrew. It means a rainbow. What else does keshet mean? The bow and arrow. The Brit is called a bow and arrow. You get it? Why it's called a bow and arrow?
Yeah.
Which shevet was called the bow? They were very good at bow and arrow, sharpshooters. Asher? Binyamin. Very good, Gabriel. Binyamin, kol hakavod lecha. Our cameraman from left field throws in one. It's like Shabbat today, Gabriel. Ma yesh laka? Binyamins, they were called the bow and they were the expert. So the Zohar says why they were expert sharpshooters from their Shorish Neshama. Because Binyamin is also Yesod. So the Yesod has the power of the Keshet. So whenever they used to, that's why when there was the civil war with the whole story of Pilegesh B'Giv'ah, 10 tribes versus 1. The Binyaminim were defeating the 10 tribes. There were 3 wars, they defeated them. Until there was the whole thing, they cried into Teshuvah. By the way, why did Hashem allow the tribe of Benjamin, to defeat the 10 tribes, including Yehuda? You know why? I saw once a pshat, I don't remember where. He says, when your brother is falling, what's the first thing you have to do? Right away, go to war? He's Rasha. He went off the derech. Kill him right away? Finish him off? He's Erev Rav, that's it. He went liberal. Or what do? You go to him. Show him some ahava. You try to be chozer b'tshuva. Give him love. Invite him for Shabbat again. Show him that it's okay. Maybe do a ta'anit for him. There's a famous story once. One guy, his son went off the derech. Started wearing agilim, earrings. Going to kukush. The whole mishigas. So the father goes to the rabbi and says to him, listen, my son is off the derech. I want to sit shiva for him. I don't want to see his face. Go, this, that. So he said, instead of sitting shiva for him, did you try I tried speaking, I took him here. Did you try doing something spiritual for his neshama? For what? Like what? Pidyon nefesh you did for him? Maybe he needs a pidyon nefesh. Did you do a ta'anit for him? He says, Kerachem aval barir. He says, no. You do a ta'anit for him. See what happens. Did a ta'anit for his son. Nothing happened. Do another one, what? If you want a Yeshua, if a person wants to be rich, he opens up a business, what? Overnight he's going to be, it takes time, you got to build, advertise, fall, get up. Lahavdil elef havdalot. How much that orange guy, how many times he went bankrupt? A couple of times, yes or no? Yes. Until he became billionaire. So too, when a person does a tshuva in a tikkunim, it takes a couple of times. It doesn't take one time. You gotta do it a couple of times. Just do a tshuva, do a tikkun for him. He does it 4 or 5 times. After the 5th time, he sees the son already took off the earring. Lama, Rabbi said, don't ask him. Never throw him out of the house. Never. Watch what's going to happen. Eventually, he started to come back on the derech. From the ahava perspective, and also from the tefillah and the ta'anit perspective. Ta'anit is a very big thing. When the person does a ta'anit, because at the end of the day, Rav Nachman Bresla, which it's been a long time since I opened up this sefer. This sefer used to be my best friend when I was a single guy. My best friend. Everywhere I used to go, I used to walk with the sefer. Everywhere, Likutei Moharan. It's been a while since I opened the sefer. I was with my son over here on Sunday. We did the Hakafot of Yosef Dayan, which you could do by yourself too. You don't need a minyan to do it. There was some Yeshua that I needed. So I brought my son over here, we did it together, you know, the heaven. When a person asks a kid to pray for him, it's more mitkabel when you pray yourself.
It's pure.
It's pure. It's a pure kid. Especially under 13, even under 9. The younger, the better. Yeah, no, it's naki. So, I took him to do a kafut with me, and he said, Abba, let's learn. In my house, I have a minhag, we learn Nevi'im with the kids. Why? They're not going to learn it in yeshiva. They're not going to learn it when they grow up. So they might as well learn it from somebody who learns it. So we learn Nevi'im and Ketuvim with the Shmuel. I take parts. I don't go in order, I take parts. I like to learn with them the book of Chagai, Zachariah, and Malachi. Why? That's the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash. If we know nothing about the first Beis HaMikdash, the average Jew, we know nothing about the second Beis HaMikdash. Alright? So I learned with Chagai about Zerubbabel, which is really Nehemiah, Gemara Sanhedrin, Lamed Chet. I learned. So then I said, Eliyahu, let's learn a little Likutei Moharan. And Pachet came to this Torah Chavtet, the 29th. And I looked at this, I looked at the notes over here from back in the day, you know. Something woke up, and then Pachet hit me, or Chaim Hakadosh, Tikkun HaYesod, and this is the Tikkun, this is the Torah of Rav Nachman. It talks about Tikkun HaKlali. He doesn't say what's the Tikkun HaKlali, the 10 chapters of Tehillim, but he just mentions there's something called Tikkun HaKlali. And he starts the Torah like this. Now, why am I saying this? Because if you want to be Kadosh, you have to be Shomer HaBrit. That's the Gemara says, Rabbeinu HaKadosh. But to be Shomer HaBrit, you first have to be Shomer the Peh. I told you guys this Thursday night, I think, last Thursday night, that there was a guy at Darshan, the Gemara says, Masechet Ta'anit. He got up to give a drasha on a fast day in Yerushalayim. And Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol was inside the audience. And back then, the minhag was to start a drasha, a lecture, with a pasuk. I say a pasuk, and then I discuss the pasuk. So he gets up and he says, Hodal Yerushalayim et avoteha. Let Yerushalayim know its abominations. So Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, what? Let Yerushalayim know its abominations? He gets up and he whispers to this guy in the ear. He says, before you let Yerushalayim know its abominations, check your mother's abominations. Mamash like that. And then they checked his lineage, and they found that he was a mamzer. So what we see from here, that when a person says something tameh from his mouth, something is wrong with the spiritual DNA over there. Something is not right. The person speaks in a very derogatory way, lichluch, in a very cheap way. I call it cheap. Some things, lamashal. A person walks outside and he's half dressed. It's a derech shel behema. A behema walks outside naked. A person walks outside naked, a man or a woman. It's like a behema. A person has to be covered up. When Adam recognized that he was naked, what was the first thing he did? The Torah says he covered himself up. He found the first thing, fig leaves. He covered himself. It's nihut, correct or incorrect? This generation, the musag of tzniut is gone. Everything is gone. The last people who hold these things is Am Yisrael. This 10% of the 10% of the 10% we're holding it. So this on the same note, when a person says something tameh from his mouth is lashon. The lashon, says Rav Nachman in Torah Chavtet, is connected to the dot. Why? How do we know that? It says in the pasuk in Sefer Bereshit, in Parashat Bereshit, Vi adam lenefesh chaya. A human is going to be a live spirit. What does Unkelus write over there? What's a live spirit? How do I know I'm alive? Ruach memalela. The fact that I can speak. The power of speech comes from life. Where does life come from? From the Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat. So speech comes from Dat. Where was the Avera of Adam HaRishon? Where? In the Dat. So to have my speech corrected, what do I first have to be mitaken? My Dat. If the Dat is no good, then what's no good? My peh. And says Rav Nachman, if my peh is no good, then comes the next part of the Gemara. The Gemara says, a Talmid Chacham, who there is a stain on his clothes, chayav mita. Anybody who sees this Gemara, especially the first time you learn Gemara, if you're a newbie, what's this Gemara? People have stains on their clothing. We're not rich, we throw away our clothes here and there. On the same note, my brother sent an interesting thing from 2003, a Jewish scientist. Look at this, amazing. Found out that there is an electromagnetic current in a person's clothing, the fabric of his clothing. For example, a human being, he emits, let's say on the scale of 100, he emits 100. Something that's polyester, plastic, anything fabric that's fake, emits the same power as somebody who's dead, which is 15. There's even somebody who's dead emits some kind of force. 15. I mean, something that's fake is what? It's dead. It's 15. What has the emission of 100, for example? Cotton. 100% cotton. Like a shirt. It was 100% cotton. That gives power to the neshama. Your clothes give power to your neshama. What has an emission of 5,000? 5,000! Wool. You know what else has an emission of 5,000? Linen. But what's interesting, this scientist found out. It's true, look at it yourself. I saw it 3 times, this video. I'm like, this is the proof of the Torah. Another proof. Rav Zamir Cohen has to add this to this book. But when you take wool and linen, which is 5,000 each, you might say when they combine, what does it equal? 10,000. What happens when you put them together?
15.
0. Not just 15. 0. Dead. Total flat line. It neutralizes out. It can't. Why? One goes totally energy to the right. One goes totally energy to the left. What's interesting, in halacha, they say, what's shatnez? Wool and linen is shatnez. What's shatnez? Only when it's mixed together, or also when you wear it one on top of the other. So in halacha, we say, even if you wear it one on top of the other, right? Let's say I'm wearing wool pants and my linen pants, and my couch is out of wool. I can't sit on my couch. Because when I sit on the couch envelopes me. Because so when you go in, you sink into the couch. What do they find out? Even when wool or linen goes on top of each other, it cancels out. Shatnez from science. Not that science needs to be a proof to the Torah. I'm saying, wow, unbelievable! How do you sit your thing and not want to kiss Hashem? If you could, by the way. Nishika with the mouth is just a mashal. It's all in the neshama. You are where your thoughts are. It's all in the neshama. It's all in the chaba. It's all in the chokhmah. So Rav Nachman, so the Gemara says, always your clothes have to be white. Now we know from the Sod that clothes have to be, that the color white in clothes is a very high level. When you wear the color white, it has a big effect on your neshama. להבדיל אלף אלפי אלפים וביליוני הבדלות, אלפי רבבות הבדלות, the Yishmaelim, they have what we call the 5 pillars. They have some halachot, let's call it, their halachot. One of their halachot, once in their life, they have to go on the Hajj. You know how Bukhari, we say Khoji when somebody comes from Israel? That's an Arab word, really. Hoji means you came back from a pilgrimage. So in the Arab world, at least once in your life, you have to go on a pilgrimage to Mecca, their holy city. When you go into Mecca, only Muslims are allowed in there. You know that, right? They're makpid. These people are mahmirin, guys. If you're a non-Muslim, they find you in Mecca, dear balak. You have to be in Ishmaeli. Some people could pass as Ishmaeli. Not with that hat though. So when a person, right away when you go to Mecca, there's a big highway, and over there is an open book. Look how they love their lahavdil, their whatever, I don't want to say the word. They go inside. When you go to the Hajj, to the pilgrimage, what do they do around their Kaaba? That's their bima. Hakafot. Rabbi say, we have over here the koach. You know, this is Tashmishei Kedusha. You can't tell us Shalom. This is Kadosh. This thing is Kadosh. You gotta go like this when you touch it. This is Kadosh. And by the way, this, where the Sefer Torah rests on, is Kadosh. The Sefer Torah rests on this. It turns into Kadosh. Do you know the how you say mitpachat? No, what we hold the Sefer Torah with. The shoal for the Sefer Torah is holier than the Chumash.
Because you can touch it.
Because it's on the Torah.
Torah.
It's a Tashmishei Kedusha Mamash. Look inside the Shulchan Aruch. I think Siman Kuf Nun Gimel, Kuf Nun Daled. It says over there the hierarchy of Kedusha. Unbelievable. The shawl. That's why, you know, Simchat Torah, they take those shawls and they tie it in the Torah. It's a Siman She'elah. Could you give it to a woman to wear afterwards? Siman She'elah in Halacha. Some say you need Hazmana and you need to actually do it. Anyways, I'm not so pro doing such a thing to take the shawl. It's a minhag. It's an old minhag. To take the shawl, they tie it just for the time being. It's not really meant for the Torah. There's a makom to be lenient. But let's take this shawl right now. Can I take it and give it to a woman to wear as a... I can't. It's kadosh. It gets energized. Now these Yishmaelim, when they go to their Kaaba, Shmaba and all that stuff, by the way, their Kaaba is a makom avodah zarah. You know that, right? I don't know if you guys learned a little history. That Kaaba, the black box that they go around, they themselves don't know what that is. They say they do. That was a place where it was filled with 1,000 avodah zarahs. Then Muhammad came and he purified it. Mamash. And they do hakafot over there. And everybody, when they do hakafot, has to be dressed the same. In what? White linen. What was, huh? What was the Kohen Gadol's clothing on the Yom Kippur? White. It had to be white. Everything white he had to wear. The power when you wear white and linen together, it saves a person from Keri. Why would the Kohen never see Keri on the night of Yom Kippur? Obviously it was Siyata Dishmaya. But the energy, you have to help the Siyata Dishmaya. With the energy from the white, that's why when a person wants to see a She'elat Chalom, it's such a thing as possible. You guys just don't believe in yourself, that's the problem. Because you're always asuk in Etz Hadat, which is these 6,000 years. That even when you look at the Etz Chaim, it's like, whoa, it's something for the Hachaim Hakadosh, something for Rabbeinu Ari. It's not for me. It's wrong. What does it say in the Navi Yoel? Everybody, when Mashiach comes, will be a Navi. You ready for that?
What's the point?
What's the point?
Everybody's not.
What's the point of going to work? I want to ask. What's the point of going to work and paying rent?
Yeah.
First answer me that, then I'm going to answer you this. How is that? I'm answering your question with a question.
To make the land more rich.
To make the land more rich? What?
Landlord rich.
To make the landlord rich. Go ahead. You hear that? What's the point? What's the point? Hashem created this world as the Misilat Yesharim for what reason? Lit'aneg ba'avatecha. To give you kaif. Hashem is I'm telling you what's the real kaif. To speak to me. Imagine going into an energy source where you're 1,000,000,000%. Where your body's just exploding from it. Like, you just cancel out. Is that not kaif? Yes or no? You imagine. Your yasod, when it feels kaif, that's only 10% times 10%. That means it's 10 of 10%. Ma'aser. And over there, everybody's going crazy in the world. Look what happened in Am Yisrael Pinchas. That's one sphere. Imagine everything is being in the koach of the... That's why they tzaddikim, when they die, they see the Shekhinah. They're happy. They're going to a good place. The other guys, they're seeing the Samech Mem. All eyes. It's a mashal. It's a mashal. It's a power. It's a koach, right? So the koach of Lavan, that's why the yeshiva guys, when they wear the white, right, it gives koach lilmod. When a person learns Torah, he needs a very koach. You should know that. Whoever thinks that a person who learns Torah is weak, he's mamash incorrect. To learn Torah 3 hours straight, or even 2 hours straight, on a sit in the seat and not fall asleep, and to be mitmaked and focus on something, I'm telling you, you need a lot of power. You need to be. I'll be honest with you.
Give me 10 minutes. I got you.
10 minutes, you'll be falling asleep.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to be doing in 10 minutes.
Yep, that's it.
That's what you're going to be 5. You know what the Chita says? You want to fall asleep, you have insomnia, open up a book. That's what he says. It's very hard to you need a lot of power. Koach you need. Not everybody has this. Especially when you get older and then you have the babies and the kids and you run around, this, that. You open up the book, suddenly, boom, you're out. But if somebody's going to tell you right now, let's go out and have some fun to a restaurant, you're suddenly, you're energized, you're going. Like one guy one time told me, I'm talking about at least 20 years ago, when I was in Beit Gavriel. When we were in Vegas, we were up for 1 day straight. Tikkun karet. Mamash. We were up for 1 day straight. We come back, it's Shavuot night. We can't even stay up 2 hours into the night.
Well, they pour oxygen in there.
More oxygen? They pour oxygen in there?
Yeah.
You really saying that?
I think so.
How much oxygen you need?
It helps you stay up, I'm telling you.
Okay, besed. No, it's not that. The Yetzer Hara keeps you awake.
That too. Yeah.
When you see something that's ta'avahu la'inayim, what happens to your heart automatically? It starts to beat. That's the oxygen. It makes it beat faster. You get more excited. You want to stay awake, right? A person on the night of Shavuot, how does he stay awake? He knows that I'm learning Divrei Elohim Hayim. He can't go to sleep. It's like every second right now is keter. I can't sleep right now. He stays awake. Hoshana Rabbah, same thing. When already you break down, it's a sign that your avodat Hashem needs a little shiputz. You need to sand that tefillin, you gotta make it sharper. We digress, guys. Let's go to what Rav Nachman Breslov says. He says over here, a person's da'at, once you fix your da'at, which means that your lashon, your peh, malchut peh, Torah sheba'al peh is clean, and your peh is mitukan, that means when somebody hears you speak, he's gonna listen to you. Why? Because your da'at is tov, and everybody wants tov, says Rav Nachman Breslov. And therefore, when you speak, when your da'at is tov, everybody wants to hear you. Your da'at being tov, which is your malchut, will make your begadim levanim. When the Gemara says whoever has a stain on his clothing, he's chayav mitah, it's not talking about your actual clothing. It's talking about your neshama, the levush of your neshama. The Gemara says the levush of your, what he's explaining, the levush of your neshama always has to be white, lavan. How do you make the levush of your neshama lavan? Says he. Ikar, and this is what's going to make you kadosh. If you want to be like the Chaim Hakadosh, the Sadeh says, I just learned this today. Preparing the shir, I just learned this today. The Sadeh, Rabbi Shaul Chaim Dueka Kohen says, he's on my phone right here. We share the same birthday, so I like to keep him. I don't have any tzaddik on my birthday, so I don't have any. This is the Sadeh, Rabbi Shaul Chaim Dueka Kohen, Rosh Yeshivat Rechovot HaNahar. Right? We once did a Hillula for him. So he says, what made the Hachaim Hakadosh Kadosh? Even when he used to use the bathroom, he used to go to the mikveh. In case a tipat keri came out after the bathroom use, now I'm not saying to do this. You would be inside a mikveh all day and all night. But says the Sadeh, that the Hachaim Hakadosh was so holy, even when he used to do ktanim, he used to go to the mikveh. You have to have a mikveh in your house for that. You have to have a portable mikveh wherever you are. He used to go to the mikveh. And he used to have special clothes he used to wear when he used to use the The bathroom.
Wow. What kind of clothes was that?
Because in case the tipa used to fall on his clothing, he didn't want to wear the same clothing. Well, it's a chumrah, but that's what makes a person kadosh. And the Baba Sali said to his grandson, in the Sefer it says over there, that whoever, that the big Chachamim, at least they used to be machmir, to be the level of kadosh, when they used to use gdolim, they used to go to the mikveh afterwards. And I heard this from another rabbi too, that used to teach me Shara Kavanot. He used to tell me his uncle used to do the same thing, Rabbi Yosef Jabra from Syria. Same thing they used to do. That's when they get to the level of kadosh. Why? There's a machloket in the Shut Torah Lishma of the Ben Ish Chai. You know, Rav Ovadia says the Torah Lishma was not written by the Ben Ish Chai. This is why. Ben Ish Chai wrote many books, like 50 books he wrote. Some Kuntrasi, whatever, 50 books he wrote. One of his books is a questions and answer book, but he wrote the book anonymously. Not anonymously, he wrote a different name over there. Yes, Yecheskel Kachli. So this says the poskim, some poskim, but if you take the gematria of Yosef Yecheskel Kachli, it's going to be Yosef Chaim. That means he wanted to write a book lishma, that means not to get kavod. So he wrote a book with somebody else's name on it. Rav Ovadia Yosef says this book is not the Ben Ish Chai's book. It can be. He contradicts himself from his other works. For example, the Mekubalim, the Ari Hakadosh says, look at me. You looking at me? The Ari Hakadosh says, the Ari brings in Shari Gilulim a list of things you have to do to reach Hasagot. Hasagot is a
divine strength.
I don't know. How do you reach a level of seeing? Somebody told me a nice story. For example, I was learning with one of the Chaverim on Sunday yesterday, and he said to me an interesting story about Rav Zusha Ma'anipoli and his brother of Elimelech Melezhensk. And he said something nice. I never heard this story before, but I liked it. I didn't see the source, but I liked it. He said, Rav Zusha, who had the zechut of davening by his kever, he was buried right next to the student of Baal Shem Tov, the Magid Memezrit. He was not such a strong learner. Not everybody has the analytical power. His brother of Elimelech Melezhensk was a very strong learner. One day, they were at a town. They were two brothers, but very, like Nadav and Avihu, very strong together. One day they were in a town, and the shochet comes to them, like the halacha is, you have to ask the rabbi, is my knife to the shchita? Today who asks? Is my knife kasher? So Rav Elimelech, who's the lamdin, he looks and says, listen, you find a way, bam, 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 kasher. Rav Zusha says, pasul. Well, there's two Torahs. One is kasher, one is pasul. So again, he shows the knife there. He says, kasher. Rav Zusha says, pasul. And then he says to him, how come why you say it's pasul? It's the halal. There's poskim, halachot, the knife is kasher. He says to him, I learned from my Rebbe one thing. If I don't see Yud Kei Vav Kei shining on the knife, it means the knife is pasul. Halacha, I don't see Yud Kei Vav Kei. When the shochet heard that, he's put his head down in b'tshuva. Second of tshuva he had, now I see the Yud Kei Vav Kei shining. Kasher. That means sometimes in halacha things could be, but the neshama of it could be missing sometimes. It's still kasher, obviously. Halacha is halacha, right? But sometimes the chayut of it could be missing, right? If I pray shacharit and I didn't have kavanah, did I say the words? Yes, that was you say the chovah. Yeah, but you say the chovah. Yes, but the chayut of it is missing. The neshama, the hevel, the kol is missing. The koach is missing. That's why I taught you guys, I think last night, Talmud Torah is the greatest mitzvah. Why? You can't learn Torah and your mind is somewhere else. Sometimes yes. But if you don't understand what the guy is saying. But Talmud Torah, you have to be focused. Tefillah, unfortunately, sometimes you're not focused. Mitzvot, you hear Kiddush, for example. You know, halachically speaking, you have to understand what the Mekadesh is saying. The guy who's saying, you have to understand what he's saying.
You have to know about the Shabbat.
Lechatchila. You have to at least know Shabbat Shalom. Today is Shabbat. But that's already, it's b'di'avad, right? You have to know what he's saying. You have to sit down in the Siddur. The Ari Hakadosh, when he used to hear Chazara, it's in Shara Kavanot. He used to stay in his place, close his eyes, and have Kavanah every word, as if he's saying it himself. Unbelievable stuff, Rabbi said. But that's how they used to get Kedusha v'Hasaga. That's how they used to get it. Going back to Likutei Moharan, it says like this. The way to keep your beged lavan hu al yedei tikun habrit. What does that mean? Ikar hitkarvut Yisrael aviyem b'shamayim. The main, what's the word ikar? Ikar. The main source, the way that the Am Yisrael is close to their Father in heaven. Aviyem b'shamayim. Hu al yedei tikun habrit. Is by fixing the brit. Why? If the da'at fixed the malchut, now the beged goes on my tiferet. What's right below the tiferet? The yesod. The way to fix the tiferet is to have the yesod corrected. You know, also in science, the nerve, Gabriel, that connects, the cranial nerve that connects the body is directly connected to your yesod. Do you know where else it's directly connected to? Your toes. That's why when a person itches his toes, he feels a very sublime feeling. That's why the Chachamim say if a person is in with his spouse, it's such as amanida. What is he supposed to do? Hit his toes. You hear the Torah is saying? The Torah knows about cranial nerves. Before cranial nerves, the term even existed. It says you have to take your fingers and what does it say by Yosef? That the tipot came out of the fingernails, but there's another the toenails. Do you see how it all connects? Unbelievable, the Torah. So it says you have to be by the Torah. Now it says here, Ubazeh taluya parnasa. You're not looking at me, Ariel. It's not Vegas, I know, but you're not looking at me. Ubazeh taluya parnasa. More than this you want? You want to read it with me, guys? Ubazeh taluya parnasa. I don't have to translate that. Shehu halechem min hashamayim. Shehu al yedei tikun klali. It's by doing a tikun klali. Shu tikun abrit. Shu bichinat derech nesher b'shamayim. King Solomon calls tikun abrit the way an eagle flies in heaven. What's the bird that flies the highest in heaven? The eagle. And that's why the man is called Zera Gad. Because why is it called Zera Gad? In Lashon HaKodesh, Gad means white. What's the color of the tipa? Zera Gad. And what is called Zera Gad? Man. So what does that mean? Man is your tipa. If you have a kosher tipa, you're going to have Zera Gad. Which is the Lechem Min HaShamayim. Which is the man. I don't know how you guys are not excited. V'nozlim, and what is the Beit HaMikdash called? Levanon.
The moon.
Not Levana. Levanon. And Levanon is the Beit HaMikdash. Shezeh Bichinat Tikun HaBrit, which is the Bichinat of Tikun HaBrit. Ubazeh taluya parnasa. Bli Torah. Look what he says. You want to have money without working too hard? You have to be Kadosh. You have to have Tikun HaBrit. Tikun HaKlali, he calls it. V'hu haman. Ki parnasa shi bitircha ubikvedud. When you have parnasa, but it takes you a lot of tircha to make that parnasa, you're awake now. Hu mechamat shelo tiken habrit bishlemut. It means you still haven't done a whole job in your... I mean, it's impossible, says the Likutei Moharan, that a person who has shemirat habrit bishlemut, that he has to work hard to make money. It's impossible. If it's happening, it means you still didn't do it. You still didn't reach the level of Kadosh. Now, look at this. I'm going to make a crazy connection. If you guys enjoyed, I don't know. When do we say Kiddusha and Tefillah?
Shachar.
When in Shacharit? In the Lachash or Chazara? Chazara. In Chazara, do we say it quietly or out loud? Out loud we say it. The Ari explains why do we say Kiddusha on the out loud? Because there is no more, when we say Kiddusha, in the Chazar, there is no more fear that the Satan will take our tefillah. But when does the Shulchan Aruch say that you have to be very careful that nobody speaks during tefillah? Is when? Chazara. That means if you have a pegam in the peh, the malchut, which is a pegam in the da'at, and if you have a pegam in the da'at, that means your beged is not lavan, which means that your tikkun abrit is not complete yet. You can't have kedusha. So what does the Shulchan Aruch says? In Chazara, if somebody's speaking, go'arin bo. Then you shut him up. Because if you want to be Kadosh, you have to have Malchut Peh. And if you want to have Malchut Peh, that means your da'at has to be Tov. But to have your da'at Tov, your beged has to be Lavan. And for your beged to be Lavan, you have to have Shemirat HaBrit. Tikun HaKlali. That means whoever doesn't have Shemirat HaBrit, his Malchut is what?
Not good.
Not good. That's why I always tell my students, I said, you know how you know a person has Shemirat HaBrit? If his peh is tahor. But that doesn't just mean he doesn't curse. It also means he doesn't talk during tefillah. That's the secret here. That's why go'arim bo. What's the word go'arim bo? We say sha, shh. That's go'arim bo. Shh. You don't have to break the wall. Pah, pah, pah. Go'arim bo. Shh. It's called lig'or bo. Like when a person is avel, he has to take a haircut now. After 30 days, his parents pass away. Go'arim bo. They say, no, take a haircut. You don't have to beat him up. Go'arim bo. Where else does it say the word ga'ara in the Navi? In Zechariah. V'yig'ar Hashem becha Satan. And Hashem says to Satan, Shah! And he shuts his mouth. Halo ze ud mutzal me'esh. You are a man, this is the pillar of fire. So to be Kadosh, we're going right now into the 3 weeks. Just letting you know, all the dinim, Gabriel, is in the chaotic state during the 3 weeks. What does the Shulchan Aruch say? You can't go outside during a certain amount of time. During the day, you can't hit somebody during that time. There's a shedim walking outside during the day openly. Yes, we believe and we love the Rambam. He's Gdol Torah Sheba'al Peh. But there's also parts of the Torah that are supernatural. As we go through these 3 weeks, we have to do everything to be Lemate Kadim. Therefore, I want to say, first of all, tomorrow night, as I said once again, over here is going to be your tzai for my grandmother. I hope you guys could join. Second thing, Thursday is going to be Ta'anit. Friday over here is going to be Brit. It's going to be in that room over there.
Very intense week.
Brit Milah. It's going to be 6 o'clock before Shabbat comes in.
Thursday,
He's doing the Brit. Afternoon. I mean, he's doing Brit. Then right away he's going to do Sudat Shabbat. Whoever wants to come is welcome. And then during the 3 weeks, even though we fasted on Thursday, I want to make with the whole Bet HaKnesset. The Rav Nachman says, what's the opposite of a Beged Lavan? Beged Adom. Red Beged. Red. What's that? Dam Nida. We have to make Tikkun La'avon Nida. When a person's with a Goya, by the way, he's Chayav Nashgaz. Nida. Shifcha. Goya and zebras. That's 4. With a Goya. That's 4 Averot is over. The Zohar calls him, person with a Goya, Chatan hu la'avoda, Chatan hu le'kel acher. He's a Chatan to Sitra Achra. Here the person is Samech Mem Zdomot. That's what he calls it. So Avon Nida is a very big Avon. Even Midrabanan. Even Midrabanan. What's the Rabbanan in Dam Nida? For example, let's say a person didn't know, he just got married, in Dam Betulim, he didn't know, he couldn't hold himself, whatever. It's the Rabbanan. Dam Betulim is not Dam Nida, it's not from the uterus. But it's still Isur. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
There's different reasons of Haigaon. So even in that, you have to make a... So I want to do with you guys, not this week, but next week.
Thursday?
A Tikkun. Because we're fasting on Thursday, I don't want to make it too tough on you guys. So next week, on one day, we're going to choose a day. And we're going to make over here Tikkun Avon Nida. So the Ari says, when you do the karet, learn all night, that only stops the Yisurim that comes down in this world. To be metaken, the Tikkun, the Olamot Elyonim, you need a Ta'anit. And the Tefillah of the Ben Ishrai, which is instead of the Kavanot. And we need a freezing mikveh. I already told my brother he's gonna make his mikveh freezing cold. Freezing cold, ice. We're all gonna go in 7 times to mitaken the Shiva Neharot. We're gonna become Kedoshim like the Chaim Hakadosh. What are we here for? I want to know. Just to hear some stories? You want to change. You want to be Kedoshim. You want to fix our machshavot. Our hilhurim. לא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. These in the winter, and we have snow. We don't need the ice.
I'd rather roll the snow.
We got shorter days.
So I want to do with you guys one tikkun nida as a kihila. Don't you want to have parnasa bli Torah?
Amen.
Yes or no? That's it. And B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we're gonna go to Chodesh Elul, b'kedusha, b'tahara, levanim, kedoshim. I already see some people's faces over here. They're nervous. It's a cold mikveh, nothing happened. And Hashem Mizakeh otanu v'et kulanu b'zchut Or Chaim Hakadosh. That we learning His Torah, we're talking about Him. We are like His children. We should be zocher לקדושה וטהרה, פרנסה בשפע, תורה, מצוות, חזרה בתשובה. השם שבידן את כולנו, כל הדור הזה לקו זכות. ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן.